Ms. Boyer and Ms. Fields, you've both brought the defendant, Mr. Sandifer, to court today to prove that he is your biological father, but you each believe that you are his only daughter and the other is not. Am I correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Sandifer, you state you do not believe that either is your daughter, but actually hope that one is and one is not.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. I will start with you, Ms. Fields. Ms. Boyer, you may have a seat. So, Ms. Fields, start from the beginning.
About 2 years ago, I sent him a message on Facebook asking him if I could borrow some money, and he responded with, maybe I need to find my real dad, that he wasn't even my father.
That's not true. I was upset, Your Honor, at that point in time because she just kept on aggravating me about money, and that's the only time I've ever heard from her is when it was money.
But you've never done anything for me. With me...
What do you mean I have never done anything
You've never
for you?
done
I carried you to the park, I carried you to the fairs.
When?
When? You
All
don't
I remember
all
is you
this?
staying
You were
home.
such a small child,
All I
you don't
remember is you
remember a
staying
lot
home.
of things.
Mr. Sandifer, so you said you had been there for her whole life.
No, ma'am, not her whole life.
So you've been there in what capacity?
I would say half of it.
And you acted as a father?
No, he did not. He did not raise me. My
I did the best I could as a father.
My grandparents raised me because my
All right, so
mother...
Mr. Sandifer,
they adopted you
Because I could not be financially supported.
I didn't know nothing about it.
Because you're not on my birth certificate. You didn't do anything for me, so why?
That's my case. I'm not on your birth certificate.
But
so
why?
Who is your father?
I don't know. I don't know. If you're not, I don't know. But I've been led to believe my whole life that you're my father. You introduced me as your child. Why change now?
Why do you have doubts, specifically?
For one reason, Your Honor, my name's not on her birth certificate. She doesn't have no comparison to me or any of my family.
You are my father. You are my father. I don't compare to you because you were never around me.
I have doubts, young lady.
All right, tell me about your childhood, Ms. Fields.
Growing up, I was, him and my mother were married from the time I was 4 till about the time I was 9.
This hurts you. It's okay.
I was adopted to my grandparents because my mother couldn't afford. She couldn't afford to take care of 3 children by herself. My grandparents stepped in to
that's
help
a lie
me.
right there.
Let her finish.
She couldn't. She was working at a bar in a burger place. She could not afford it. 3 children by herself. You didn't help.
Why should I help when I wasn't the father? I mean,
How did you know that you weren't the father? Why not get a
That's why
DNA
we're
test
here.
then?
That's
Why
why
not
we're
do
here.
it then if you had
You didn't
to?
force it on me,
Why
did
not
you?
do it? How old
You
was
didn't
I?
force-
You're the adult. I'm the child. How am I supposed to do this? You're the adult.
Why didn't you ask? Why didn't you
like
ask?
it.
Why don't you ask?
Ms. Fields, continue on, please. I'm listening.
My grandparents, they adopted me. They did everything they could for me. They took care of me. They did more than what they were supposed to do.
Yeah, and they pushed me out of the picture. That's why I
Because you
wasn't
were
on
never in the picture. How could they push you out of the picture when you were never there to begin with?
Then why do you call other men dads all the time? You're married
with-
right now,
because
and
I
you're
call
calling him
I call
dad.
him dad because he raised me from the time I was
Bull-hockey,
13.
girl. No, he didn't raise
He bought
you.
my senior
Then why do
picture.
you always come to me for money and not them if he's
I
your
go
dad?
to them. I go to them, but you're my father.
but
You're
you always
supposed
say
to
that
do
he's
for
come
me.
down
You are
to me.
supposed to do for me.
You
You are
help
my
me
father.
before they
Introduce
will.
me as your child, then I
That's
should
right.
get
You
what
know,
I need. I should
that's
get
what
what
I was
deserve.
told,
You didn't do
and then
anything.
I find out that you're not.
Family, ladies, gentlemen, let's settle down a little bit because I do want to understand this. Ms. Fields, your childhood.
When I was 13 years old, January, my grandmother passed away, and right after that, I lost my grandfather. On my grandfather's deathbed, he specifically asked my dad if he would take care of his girls, stating me and my mom. He said yes. If he wasn't my father, why would he?
Your mother found another man in her life, so why
And
did
he's
I
took
need to be
care
in
of
the
me.
picture?
So what does
He
that
has?
matter?
Okay,
He's
all
took
right.
care of me.
Okay, so Mr. Sandifer, did you date her mother? Did you have an intimate relationship with her mother?
They were married.
Yes, Your Honor. Then she come up pregnant, and I was always told by friends that Samantha was my child, but
You were
when the
told by
baby
her,
was
too.
born, I was there.
Now wait, this is what I'm trying to understand. You said you were at the hospital, and were you there because you thought you were about to have a baby with her mother?
I was there for a friend.
You weren't
Yes.
even at the hospital.
Oh, as a friend.
Oh, yes, I was, and your mother had some other guy that she was dating at that time, but he was there, and he said, oh, I got me a new daughter, I got me a new daughter.
I don't remember this. I don't remember.
Well, of course you did.
No,
you
wait,
was a
wait.
baby.
Yeah, you wouldn't remember that,
Right,
Mr.
right,
No.
right.
Mr. Sandifer,
Yeah,
there's
watch it.
another guy there.
Yes, Your Honor, there was.
And he was saying, I have another daughter, I have another daughter.
Yes, Your Honor.
Speaking about Miss Fields.
Yes, Your Honor.
My
So-
mother was good to you. You
So
stayed out
then
in
why
the bar.
were you there as a friend instead of as a potential or
Because
new
I
father?
didn't know if I was the father because she slept with so many different men.
So she slept with different men. You were the one that stayed in the bar looking for women. Every woman.
So
you
what?
had
And your mother was one of them.
She worked at a bar. She had 2 jobs to support
Well,
me and
she
my
hung out
sisters.
there afterward, too.
Okay, just because she hung out, does that mean she's sleeping with other people? You hang out at a bar, are you sleeping
Miss
with everybody in the
Fields?
bar?
If I get the chance.
He told the truth.
I guess he told that.
He's the womanizer.
Oh,
He's the
Miss
womanizer.
Fields. All your life you were told that Mr. Sandifer was your father.
Yes, Your Honor.
Your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
And were you ever told that it could be someone else?
Never, never. Not until I was 23 years old, and he told me that on a Facebook message.
Tell me about your relationship with Ms. Boyer.
We don't have a relationship. We don't have a relationship like sisters should. Y'all
common.
have a lot better relationship than me and you do.
Of course, because I fought custody for her and everything.
And you would have never done that if it wasn't for
How
Sheila.
could I when you was adopted out
would have
from
never-
under me, Samantha?
You weren't there before I was adopted out from under you. When I was 9 years old, you could have done something.
What did you want me to do?
Act like a father.
I was
do what
there
you had to
for
do
you.
to get
There wasn't
custody
no
of your
other man
child.
in your life to be your father.
Do what you had to do to
I
get
took the
custody of your-
responsibility
Okay, you
to
didn't
man
take
up.
responsibility to man up when? When you were at the bar drinking?
If you want more episodes of Paternity Court, make sure to subscribe and click on the notification bell. I want to hear from Ms. Boyer. Please stand up, ma'am. Ms. Fields, you may take a seat. Thank you for your testimony.
You're welcome.
Ms. Boyer,
Yes, Your Honor.
explain to the court why you're here today exactly.
I'm here today to prove that Mr. Sandifer is my father.
I have proof otherwise, Your Honor.
You have proof that she is not your daughter.
My name's not on the birth certificate.
I'd like to see that. Jerome, please hand me that evidence.
But, Your Honor, he was in a relationship with my mother when I was born, and he lived with us till I was 5 years old.
This is a copy of Ms. Boyer's birth certificate.
The reason there is another man on my birth certificate, Your Honor, is because my mother was married and separated,
And told me I was the father.
but because she was still married back 30 years ago, you had to put your husband on the birth certificate.
Mr. Sandifer, you were there when Tuesday was born,
Yes,
Ms.
Your
Boyer?
Honor.
Were you there again as a friend, or were you
No,
there
I was
because you
there as
thought
the
you were the father?
I raised her for 8 years till me and her mother separated. I paid child support religiously. Then this child would call me up and tell me there's no food in the house. Mama's gone. We don't know where she's at. Bring me some money or some food. I called my lawyer, Your Honor. She says, next visitation, Mr. Sandifer, pick your daughter up and don't take her back. I said, well, I'm liable to go to jail. She said, don't worry about that. I'll get you out. So we went to court. The judge gave her mother 3 opportunities to show up.
She never showed up to court, to the
Never
court
showed
date.
up.
And you were awarded full.
Yes, Your Honor.
After that entire legal battle, did you believe Ms. Boyer was your biological child?
Not really, Your Honor, because I still have doubts just because of the paperwork.
If you're not my dad, why did you fight for me?
Because
mean,
I
we-
love you and I manned up. Why did
I
you
went-
leave me
I
when
went
I
to my
already had
grandmother.
custody and go back to your mother? That's what I don't understand.
I didn't go to my mother.
You did?
I went to
Atlanta,
my brother.
to Georgia?
When I went to visit him, though, when he
you were
brought
at
me
your mother's.
back, I was 14 years old.
Right.
We pulled up to the house, and the house was abandoned. There was no one there. Everything was gone. You had moved to California. I found that out by going to my grandmother's house.
That's wrong.
So
That's
I
wrong.
went back to
I
Georgia
come
with
and
my
picked
brother.
your butt up Tuesday.
Yes, that was after I had been there for almost 2 years.
Yeah, well, you decided you thought things were better on the other side living with her.
So,
I didn't want to
Ms.
move
Boyer,
to California.
ultimately, do you believe he abandoned you?
Yes, Your Honor.
I have
do.
never abandoned you.
Just tell me how you feel.
Your Honor,
What do you feel?
when I was 10, he got a divorce, and I was left
You
with my
quit
grandmother.
school on me.
I quit school because I had no one to sign me up for school because you wouldn't sign over rights so someone could sign me
Why
up
should
for
I
school.
sign over my rights?
Well, how could I go to school if no one could register me? But Your Honor, when he had a woman that had children, I was in his life. When there was a woman without children, I was left at my grandmother's.
You're an adult now, Tuesday.
Yes, but I have 3 kids that need you. They don't have another grandparent
you
in their
know
life.
I'm there at least twice a week.
Yes,
At least.
but you don't do things with them like you used to.
I work. I'm so tired, I barely have time for myself. I spend as much time as I can. You can't say that
Yes,
I don't.
But their
We
other
just went to
grandparents,
Huntsville just last summer.
right, and they enjoyed that. But their
Carried them
other
to the Rocket
grandparents have
Center.
passed away, and they have no one else. They need you in their life. I need you in my life. Well, I believe you are my dad, and that's why I want to prove it. I mean, the difference between me and Samantha, okay, is I'm 5'1". She's 5'10". I look like him. She doesn't. And I mean, there's a picture of me and him when I was a child. That was right after he got custody of me.
That's such a cute picture.
Thank you, Your Honor. May not have been the best dad in the world, but I tried my darndest. I worked my butt off so hard and tried to do things for y'all when I can and when I can afford it.
I don't have an education.
So pretty much, Ms. Boyer, you blame him
Yes, Your Honor.
because you feel like this relationship or lack of relationship caused you to drop out of school.
Yes, Your Honor.
What's the last grade you completed?
7th grade.
So you're suing him for the cost of a GED program because you believe he owes that to you.
Something
Yes,
I already
Your Honor.
paid for?
That way I can help my kids with their homework.
So you believe he owes you another GED test because the last time he paid for it, you were so distressed because of your relationship, you were not able to effectively study and pass. And that's why you're suing him
Yes, Your
today
Honor.
for that.
Yes.
Okay. I think I'm ready for the results. Jerome? Ms. Boyer, I will start with you. These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Fields Boyer v. Sandifer, when it comes to 31-year-old Tuesday Boyer, it has been determined by this court, Mr. Sandifer, you are not her father.
Oh, wow.
You okay, sir? You need to take a seat?
Yeah, I'm fine, I'm fine.
I was sure he was my father.
God almighty. Sorry, Your Honor.
My kids need a grandparent, so I've got to find.
You got one. You got a father still. You still got a father.
I would love for you to be in their life.
Mr. Sandifer, did you really want to be Ms. Boyer's father?
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm so sorry. Are you ready for the next result with Ms. Field?
I got you.
Yes, Your Honor.
These results were also prepared by DNA Diagnostics, and they read as follows. In the case of Fields Boyer v. Sandifer, when it comes to 25-year-old Samantha Fields, the court has determined. In the case of Fields Boyer v. Sandifer, the court has determined. Mr. Sandifer, you are not her father.
I presumed Samantha wasn't, but I never thought Tuesday would have. I'm still here for you, girls. Anytime. And your children's too. I'm still their grandfather.
Ms. Boyer, the basis of your suit was that your father, the man that raised you, was responsible for providing you with an education. And unfortunately, I cannot award you any money for an additional test because there have been no facts presented that he was at all negligent. Your claim is denied.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Sandifer, you have indicated you will still be here for the girls and their children, and I think that's commendable.
Yes, Your Honor.
And ladies, take advantage of Mr. Sandifer's offer. Do the work and just help move forward. I think your dad could use a hug.
I'm sorry, girls. I'm so sorry.
Ms. Gutierrez, you are suing your mom for paternity fraud and claim she has named 4 different men to be your father. One of those men, Mr. McKinney, you have never met, and he is here today. You've had to put the pieces of your mom's puzzle together and hope today's result will be the final piece. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Sullivan, you testified that you did some questionable things in your past, but you are here to help your daughter get the closure she deserves. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
So before we start, Jerome, can you please escort Mr. McKinney into the courtroom?
Yes. I'm gonna go right up to the witness stand next to the judge here. Up here. Thank you. Hello, Judge.
Thank you for joining us, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Gutierrez, I want to start with you. 4 possible fathers. 4.
Yes.
What has it been like living with this notion that you don't know which of 4 people could be your father?
It's been emotional, confusing. I'm embarrassed, especially because I'm a mom myself. So it's important for everyone to know whether that person's a part of their life, you know, where they come from. And
how has this affected your relationship with your mother?
it's been distant. I've been like, I'm kind of angry at her.
Ms. Gutierrez, talk to your mother about the hurt you felt.
I just felt there was a part of me missing. I felt like you didn't really care that I was hurting about not knowing, or you didn't think that it was important to me when it really was, whether that person was there for me or not. It's important to know where you come from. Who am I? Whose smile do I have? Whose laugh do I have? I mean, where do I get my sense of humor from? You know, it doesn't always come from you, it comes from them. And I feel like it's affected me, and even being a mother that I am now, you know, I can't tell my kids the truth because I don't know the truth.
Well, this is where we start telling truths so we can have a better understanding. Ms. Sullivan, 4 possible fathers. You submitted a timeline to the court. I'd like you to explain to the court how we got to this place.
I was dating my ex, who I met him at a restaurant that I worked at, and we were dating for a while. And then I found out that Mr. McKinney was going off to war, so I went to visit him where he lived at and spend the weekend with him before he went to war. Then I went back to my ex and was still dating him during that time, but then we broke up. And the weekend that we broke up, I went to go visit my sister, and I hooked up with Mr. Bryson. He was a friend a couple years prior, and so we just kept in touch. But when I went to visit my sister for that weekend, we were intimate that weekend.
Just one time, just that weekend?
Yes, just that weekend. And then I went back and was with my ex again. Then I decided to move back to my hometown. And the weekend that I moved back, I met Mr. Brown. And Mr. Brown and I started dating from the day that I moved there, and we stayed together for 5 years after that.
And all of this transpired within a 2-week window.
As far as I can remember, yes.
Which explains why we're here, involved in this case. So, Ms. Gutierrez, you were raised believing Mr. Brown was your biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
It's okay, honey. Can you tell us, when did you find out Mr. Brown was not your biological father?
I was around 8 years old. And that's when the family member had said, I was there, she was watching me, and just blurted out, do I know that he's not my biological father? I questioned, and Perry was, I'm your dad, you know? So I went on, and I realized it, wasn't the truth. I remember going to a military base to take the picture for the insurance, that I realized that was a different name.
Where would you see this different name?
On top of the insurance card. It had the first, middle initial, and the last.
And it was not?
It wasn't Perry. And then after that, I believe I talked to my mom, and that was when the ex was my dad. And I remember talking to him on the phone, and I cried because he said that he couldn't have anything to do with me. His wife didn't want him to have anything to do with me. Wow. And he wasn't even sure if he was my father.
Miss Sullivan, why didn't you tell your daughter about your ex? It was your ex.
I didn't tell her about him because he pretty much rejected her, or rejected the whole possibility that he was the father from day one. I had filed for a blood test when she was just a couple months, and he did everything he could to avoid the test. And then the final time that we went to court for the child support, he showed me the picture of the test results, and it was his brother that had actually taken the test. The judge just pretty much just ruled that since he was going through the trouble of avoiding the blood test, that he must be the father, so he went ahead and ordered him to pay child support.
Wow. So how long did you believe your ex was Ms. Gutierrez's father?
Up until the point, really, where she did another paternity test with him on her own.
He paid for a home paternity test. A few weeks later, he called me, and he sounded real mad. He said, "You're no percentage. There's no percent that you're my child, and I want all that money back from child support." Wow. So instead of saying, I'm sorry, or because I'm the child, I shouldn't have to go through it.
So when he gave you that information, did you get any closure from it?
No, because I still felt like that could have been a lie. And not knowing from the beginning that he couldn't have anything to do
and
with
because he sent someone else the first time,
yes,
his brother, to take the test, who's to say he would not try that again? So when did you find out about Mr. McKinney?
A few years back, she had told me another possibility, which was his name.
You've never met him?
No.
Not until today.
Not until today?
Yes, ma'am.
So what was your relationship, Mr. McKinney, like with her mother?
Well, I met Larissa about 29 years ago, and I went to a nightclub, and I was out on the floor dancing, and I was getting my groove on, and I felt this little hand wrap around my waist, and I turned around and looked, and there was this beautiful lady there dancing with me, and we spent time together, you know what I'm saying? And she came up for a weekend. She spent with me pretty much the whole time together up until the end of December, when I got called and went overseas.
When did you find out you could potentially be Ms. Gutierrez's biological father?
Last week.
So, Mr. McKinney.
Yes, ma'am.
After you've heard some of today's testimony, do you believe you could be, or do you believe you are Ms. Gutierrez's biological father?
Initially, I thought no, but now I don't know. That's the thing. And I hope today turns out that I am, so she don't have to look no further. You know what I'm saying? That's how I feel. I can't make up for 20-some years, But if you are, I'll start today. I promise. That's all I can do. That's all I can do.
So this is the first time you've ever laid eyes on this beautiful woman.
I've seen pictures, you know. Since last week, I spent the whole time trolling on Facebook like, oh my God, is this my baby? Could this be my baby? You know what I'm saying? Trying to compare to my other 2 daughters. I truly hope it turns out that I am, so she don't have to continue going on with this. But I just want to spend from today on loving my child.
And there is, unfortunately, still confusion because there's also Mr. Bryson.
Right.
Who we know is also a possible father. Right. So, Ms. Gutierrez, tell me how you found out about Mr. Bryson. How did he come into the picture? How did...
She said, I know who your father is. It's Delane. And I was like, who's Delane? Like, where did he come from? And then I asked my Mr. Brown, Perry, about it. And then he started telling me, you know, you guys have the same hands. You know, y'all have the same skin problems. And, you know, that I knew that was your dad all along. Your mom just always denied to me, saying that wasn't your dad, it was the ex.
Really? So, Ms. Sullivan, are there similarities? Did you know this?
Yes, Your Honor, I did. He was the one that I thought mostly could be her father because the similarities were there, the skin tone and the temper. And I've always been ashamed to even admit to anybody that I had that time with him. So I never admitted it to anybody.
Did you ever get a DNA test with Mr. Brown?
No, I never got a DNA test with him. When I met him, I had already been to the doctor like the week or week and a half before, and that's when I found out that I was pregnant.
And Mr. Brown actually submitted a statement to the court. It says, I met Larissa Gutierrez in the spring of 1991. We were together the first night of meeting each other. After about 2 weeks, she informed me that she was pregnant by a guy she was dating. I struggled with dating a woman that was pregnant. Either leave Larissa and this beautiful baby girl or swallow my pride and be the best daddy I could be for her as if she was my own flesh and blood. One look at her made my choice very easy. My love will never change for you, Parrish. I will love you unconditionally till the day that I die. Love, Dad.
She had told me when I was younger, when I would ask, you know, he could be your dad, you know, playing with me because, oh, I was pregnant, but who knows if the doctor was right. And then it was to the point where my kids started to look like him. So I was really confused.
And I know that hurts you. And you deserve to know. So before I go to the results, are you confident that one of these envelopes is going to reveal that one of these potential men is your daughter's biological father?
I'm confident that the answer will be in one of the envelopes.
And that also depends upon if the ex actually took the test the proper way and did not attempt to defraud the testing process again. Jerome, may I have the envelopes, please? The first result is for Stacey McKinney. In the case of Gutierrez versus Sullivan, when it comes to 26-year-old Parrish Gutierrez, it has been determined by this court, Mr. McKinney, you are not her father.
Wow.
I could see that you were almost hoping she was.
Yeah, I was.
I'm sorry I could not deliver the result you wanted, but in this courtroom, we deliver the truth.
Right.
The next result is for Mr. Bryson. In the case of Gutierrez versus Sullivan, when it comes to 26-year-old Parrish Gutierrez, it has been determined by this court. Mr. Bryson is her father.
What's your answer?
How does it feel to finally know the truth?
It feels good because I don't feel confused or alone or.
He was unable to be here in court with us today, but did submit to the testing. Do you know how to reach him?
No.
This court will help you do that.
Thank you.